and she had to go back and help some other kids besides the ones she adopted. Roxanne and I first visited the year after in 1992 with a group of high school students from a youth group that we had in Europe. Also not knowing it was going to turn into a lifelong thing for us. I would have started learning Romanian back then if I knew. But the Romanian people at that time had been stripped by communism of any concept of hope or charity. And they had no idea at all why anyone would do something for someone else without getting something in return. So from that point forward, Heart of Hope was a step ahead of what Romanians were equipped to do. We joined with many other ministries at that time to meet the immediate needs of food, clothing, and medicine to help bring the nation back from the brink. But the next step was to minister to the kids socially, spiritually, and emotionally, which led to the transition homes and the purchase of 5 acres of land in a beautiful valley on the banks of the Lotriaro River that would eventually become the Camp of the Good Shepherd, which many of you have visited. Raise your hand if you've been there. Look at that. Quite a few people have made the trip over. I became involved with Heart of Hope in 1998 when I led a dental team to one of the orphanages they were supporting, and I've been working with Debbie ever since. So Transylvania is a real place, and it is a region in Romania. And because of Dracula, it became the home base for every horror movie. But the years of dictatorship had isolated the country so well that the people there had no idea that the world linked their mountainous northwest with monsters. It's like somebody coming to Ventura County and showing up and saying, hey, I hear this is where all the blue unicorns are. Where are the blue unicorns? And you're like, there's no blue unicorns. I mean, people are, where's all the monsters? When I first entered Transylvania, we were driving up a dark gorge, and it was along a river. There's high mountains on either side, and it was nighttime. And no joke, there was a lightning storm, thunder and lightning coming down when we crossed the border into Transylvania. We drove up a dirt road, and I got to the orphanage I was serving at, and it was an old castle, a little turret. And then the kicker was this, the camp nurse came out, or the orphanage nurse came out, and she had a long white coat on, and she had black hair that stuck straight up in the air. And I was just like, why isn't there anybody else here to share this with me, because I'm the only one that gets it. But that's what happened. You'll just have to believe me. But the ministry has grown and changed with the times. Romania is not at all as desperate as it was in the 90s. So why do we continue to support them 33 years later when things are so different and the initial needs don't exist anymore? Because Heart of Hope is still a step ahead. When the children needed a place to go for fun and singing in the mountains and games, Heart of Hope opened the camp. After that, Children's Services called Debbie many times for advice on how to serve orphans while they learned how to do it. When the time came that the government allowed Bibles in the orphanages, Heart of Hope paired with locals and started Bible studies there, and that led to village Bible clubs in the nearby villages. When the state finally said we can no longer have dental teams in the orphanages, the dental school director invited us to do the work there so we can treat the children in their facilities, and she wanted us to help instruct their students in how to serve. And when Russia invaded Ukraine and the refugees poured across the border, we opened the camp for many of them to live. What was it, 50 or 60? 43. The governor of Sibiu State actually met with us and came out and visited the camp to see how we were doing this successfully. And now we're planning for new changes with the reality that the orphanage system is disappearing and they're heading more towards a foster system. That's the next step. This summer saw foster kids in our camp for the first time, with high praise from the foster care leaders and a new model moving forward for a summer respite for the foster children and their families. So these camp improvements will lead the way for foster retreats and youth groups. And once again, we're helping to lead the way and help this new generation to learn to give unselfishly. And with your continued support, we'll see what the years ahead can bring. So that's kind of where we are and a little bit of history. I'd like to now bring up Debbie Marshall, our president, to speak. Come on up, Debbie.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Scott mentioned a lot of things that I'm also going to touch on, but I'll start with how my journey first started to Romania. Scott mentioned I adopted a baby from there, and it was right after the revolution. And after the revolution is when Western media could finally get into the country, because as Scott mentioned, it was totally closed from any Westerners. And for those of you that might remember, some of the first reports came through 2020. And do any of you remember Mr. Tom Jarrell from 2020? He was a reporter with them, and I watched his accounts of what was happening with the human rights violations with the children in the orphanages. And that night, I went in and I woke my husband up and I said, you know, I think the Lord would like us to adopt a baby from Romania. And because he and I went through the public school system in America, he said, where's Romania? So we had to get out an actual map and find where it was in the Eastern Bloc. And that was 1 year after Ceausescu and his wife had been executed. I flew over there January 14th of 91. And if any of you were in the military at that time, you know that Bush Sr. had given Saddam Hussein the ultimatum to get out of Kuwait, or on January 15th, we would make his life very miserable. Many of my friends and family, very caring about me, encouraged me not to go. You know, you could go later. You don't need to go right now. It's a pretty dangerous time to go. My husband and I had prayed, and we knew the Lord wanted me to go. And I still remember walking down the ramp at Portland Airport to get on the plane, leaving my husband and 3-year-old behind, and thinking, Lord, you got to keep me going, because my legs felt like each one of them weighed about 100 pounds of cement in each. It was hard to get on that plane. But the Lord was faithful. I spent 6 weeks processing the adoption of my daughter that was there. I was allowed to visit her 2 times while she was in the orphanage, and at that time, there just simply wasn't enough care providers. So you know when you go and you pick up a little baby out of their crib, pick them right up in their armpits to lift them out? Both the times I got to visit her, even though they knew I was coming to visit, she was wet in urine all the way through. When we brought her home, she had bed sores, peeling off skin from the back of her head to her tailbone and to her belly button. But the Lord was faithful and healed her. When I got on the plane to leave Romania at that time, as Scott mentioned, there was no food there. There was no medicine there. I love Coke. I would have paid $20 to find a Coke there. At that time, you just couldn't find it, even with Western money. When I got on the plane, I did that thing. My dad had gone with me, because my husband couldn't take that much time off from work. And I looked at him and the horrors that we had seen in the orphanages, and I said to him, I am never coming back to this hellhole. I was going to be one of those crazy Americans that got to the airport and kissed the ground, thankful for what we had here compared to what communism had done there. I got home and couldn't stop thinking about all the children left behind. We could adopt one, but what about the rest that were still suffering? So that's why we started Heart of Hope, never to bring them here, but to minister to them there, to make things better there. And that's what we're still doing, is making things better there. The whole decade of the 90s was humanitarian aid and Bibles. Humanitarian aid, more Bibles, medicine, food, Pampers, driving to Germany to find formula because you couldn't even find it in Romania with money, bringing it back, the whole decade of the 90s. We became Medical Team International's partner for Romania, and that's how we met Scott. He'd signed up to go on a dental team, and through the 90s and into 2009, anybody that was coming through medical teams came to me, because we knew how to get the authorization, set it up, blah, blah, blah. So that's how we met Scott in 1997. Through the decades of the 90s up to 2000, is there anybody else in this room that was in Romania with me? If you would stand besides Scott? Anybody else that volunteered with us then? Scott mentioned in 1999 that we bought land for Camp of the Good Shepherd. The reason was we were doing so much ministering to the children in the orphanages, but they never left. They never got out of those institutions, and it was just heartbreaking. So my dad and I started looking for land. The Lord provided it. We started Camp of the Good Shepherd. It was bare, brush, trees, bare land, almost 5 acres of land that we got alongside of a river in a private area, so that even if we built and we brought screaming, loud, noisy kids, it wasn't going to interrupt or disturb anybody else. And it's still that same setting today. Now, this many years later, and the development of Romania, on our road are where all the vacation houses are now. If I had known then, I would have bought the land. I didn't. But now, prosecutors, doctors, dentists, people with funds, that's where their vacation homes are. But we're still on a little curve, and we don't disturb anybody. 2000, things begin to change. We still were doing all kinds of repair work, broken windows, replacing roofs and toilets, and still hosting all the medical teams and things. But we started to see, wow, we can buy food, what we need. I remember when we built the camp, the first buildings we had to ship from here on containers, they were pole buildings, because you couldn't find treated wood in Romania that would last. You could find some really crappy sheetrock that we put up on the inside of the pole buildings. We started with tents, which were absolutely miserable. I hate camping. And thankfully, we had a church that was willing to come and build us cabins in 2002, and those cabins are there to this day. And the kids absolutely love them. They're like their little house. 2002, Romania got an edict from the European Union. You need to have a foster care program. So Child Protection asked me if we would bring foster care workers from here. Can you show us, what do you use for your applications? What do you use for home visits when you visit families that have taken in foster care? So I brought over social workers. We did all the training. They started by trying to take children out of the orphanages and put them in foster care, and it was a complete disaster. The children were so institutionalized, they didn't know how to respond or live in a family. Families had no training. There was no resources. There was no therapy. There was no counseling. There was nowhere there for them to take kids. So by 2004, all the kids that had been placed came right back into the orphanages. And they changed their philosophy, and they said, we'll start with babies. So any baby abandoned, we'll put in foster care. We won't put them in the orphanages, which was great. Here we are, 20 years later after that, 2004. We finally have, from 150,000 orphans in orphanages, we're under 10,000. So they've made that transition. They're still working on it. One of the problems that still exists is there's no juvenile justice system. So where do you think the problem children are? They're in the orphanages. If you are a foster parent and you can't handle the kid, in the orphanage. If you're a child that has a criminal record, in the orphanages. So the orphanages are tough. We've got a team here tonight that worked with some of the toughest kids. But that's just the state of the union that I'm telling you about. From 2000 to 2010, we developed the camp some more. In 2002, we started the Home of Hope for Young Women, taking young women either from the orphanage setting or from impoverished families at the age of 18, giving them extra education and job placement. We still have that home today. We have 8 young women in that home right now. That's our capacity. That's where we're at. If you volunteered with me from 2000 into 2010, would you stand up? I know there's a few of you here that were that then. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. That means so much that you'd still be here supporting us. 2010 to 2020, things started to change even more. We quit in 2009 doing any renovations. They were done. The buildings were done. We didn't have to do any more renovations. European Union started having funds coming in. So we didn't have to do any food anymore except special dietary needs if a child had, particularly in the younger places, we would do that. 2010 to 2020, we were still providing shoes primarily, medicines, detergent, hygiene products, those kinds of things to the centers. Camp continued to be the favorite thing of the whole summer. We still continued our Christmas program, Easter programs, some teens. So if you volunteered with us from 2010 to 2020, would you stand up? Thank you. Then came what? COVID. It was the first time that I had not traveled to Romania when they shut down all the international flights for a year and a half. From March of 2020 until June of 2021. I was stateside that whole time. And my marriage survived. He's used to me, like, when are you leaving? When are you going to Romania again? But no, I jest. He's fantastic support. During that time, while it was hard for us here, it was hard for them there. Orphanages were completely shut down. They didn't just have to mask, they just couldn't leave. They couldn't leave the orphanage, they couldn't go out in public, they couldn't do anything. And just like here, with the damage we saw to our children, not going to school and other things, we saw tremendous damage there as well. It also gave, in my opinion, bureaucrats a lot of time to think up new rules and regulations that we've been dealing with. We were finally able to have camp again in 2021, summer of 2021, with various rules and regulations and things like that. And then, as Scott mentioned, February of 2022, the war started in Ukraine. And we had 43 Ukrainians come that we took care of until December of 2022. Some went back. Those that decided they couldn't go back, primarily with teenage boys or others that might be unscripted, stayed in Sibiu, and we helped them get places to live and work in the city instead of just out at camp, too isolated from places to work. We still have 2 families that are with us, and a third family, her son is still with us. And last month, her husband, who she'd left in Romania, his tank was blown up. That's the only refugees family member that we're aware that was lost from the continuing war. 2022, we couldn't have camp. So what we did was we had volunteers come and we went to the orphanages and we did like vacation Bible schools. The kids were pretty understanding. They knew about the war, they were aware, and when I told them why we couldn't have camp, they were okay with it, but they were so excited to come back in 2023 and 2024. This last year, we had a team from Camarillo Community Church, 5-person team. Can all 5 of you please stand up? I want you to notice something about this 5-member team. Stay standing, if you don't mind. We have Grace, a teenager. We have Raquel in her 20s. We had Sean back there in his 30s. We had Josh over here in his 40s. And we had Doug over here in his 70s. Thank you, you can sit down. If you're here tonight and you don't know if you'd fit in with the team, you would. You would. As I mentioned, it was a rough time with the kids from the centers as the dynamic has changed of what kind of kids we're working with. And we had kids there week from the orphanage that have, a lot of them already have criminal records. It was the first time in a long time. There were two girls that I had to make the very difficult decision on the second day to return them. They would not cooperate with one thing, and they were hell-bent on disrupting the entire camp or running away, which I'm liable for, or this or that, or this or that. Tuesday, when I had to take them back, I told them that morning, because they wouldn't come in to cooperate with anything, and I said, okay, you're going to go back. Great, we can't wait to go back. I'm like, I know. So that also meant they couldn't eat lunch with us, with the other kids. One of the problems that we have in the orphanage system is the staff has no way to give them consequences or hold them accountable. But when they're at my place, we can. So they were like, no lunch. And I'm like, I didn't let them know, but once the kids were all finished and everybody else was finished, they got to have lunch, but they had to have lunch with me. Not very fun. But we had a great lunch. And to the one ringleader who I've known a long time, I said, tell me where you're going to be in 5 years. She's 17 right now. And she said, well, I'm either going to be in prison or I'm going to be dead. And I said, you know what? I think you're right. I think you will be if you stay on this path. And she said, really? And I go, yeah, don't you? And she said, yeah. And I said, tell me, how many times have you been arrested? And she said, I don't know. So many I can't remember. I said, tell me what you've been arrested for. Breaking into cars, breaking into homes, assault, and the list went on. And I said, you know, you're going to be 18. What's going to happen next time you're arrested? I'm going to jail. You are. You will. You will. Are you sure you don't want to stay here just these last few days? No, you know, Debbie, I'm not. I'm not fit to stay here. And if you make me stay, I will destroy your camp. That's what I thought. That's what I thought. I'm going to see her the first week of December again. Those are the kinds of kids that we deal with at camp. They're rough. They're not all as rough as her, but they need love. The greatest thing you can do is come and show them dignity and respect. But I can't speak the language. It's okay. I got translators. They don't care. They want you to play soccer with them. I'm too old to play soccer. Okay, I get it. I don't want to do that either. Serve them a meal. Sit with them and eat with them. Smile at them. Touch their arm. There's so many things you can do. And we like to have a team of 8 volunteers, Americans and 8 Romanians. And all summer last year, we didn't have one team that made the goal. We were tired. I was tired. So I'm asking you to consider coming to volunteer. If you want to volunteer, I've got a fact sheet on that back table where you just got all your lovely little things for the $25, that table. There's a fact sheet. You can just grab it and read more about what that entails. But we would love to have you. We need you. We need bodies there. I mentioned a little bit ago about the Home of Hope. Tonight we're going to zoom in the girls in a minute, and it's an amazing program. In June, we took our first girl that was abandoned as a baby that grew up in the foster system. All of our other girls have either come through the orphanage system or through impoverished families, but we have our first girl now that came through the foster care system. Scott mentioned this last summer at camp. We had foster kids for the first time. It was another learning experience for me. I forgot that in the orphanage, the kids all lived together. They know each other. The foster kids didn't. They were coming from this house, from this family, from this house. They didn't know each other. So we had to adjust. One of our adjustments is that next summer, we'll have boys in one and girls in another. There were only 8 to 12-year-olds that we took, and we'll do the same. The social workers were amazed. I invited them to come the last Friday of camp to eat with them, to see the prizes, to see our program, to meet the volunteers. And the 3 social workers that were in charge of the 40 kids said they've never seen anything like it. Nobody else does this for our kids. Nobody will do this. Please, please do it again next year. And I said, we will. With God's help, we will. With enough finances and enough people, we will. Scott mentioned that last year we had hoped to build the soccer field at Camp of the Good Shepherd. For those of you that haven't been there, out in front where the kids play was just dirt and rocks and constant scrapes and constant hurt knees and everything else that you can imagine. And it had gotten so bad that a lot of times the kid didn't even want to play on it because it was just too rocky, too dirty, too this, too that. So I'd had this dream to put in a soccer field. I know it's a shock that I'm not very athletic, but I really underestimated, I can tell you this, I completely underestimated how valuable that soccer field and playground was to our entire program. Oh my word. They didn't just play on it during just organized game time. No. Every moment that there was not something else to do, they were on that field. Our teams were on there doing team building. Our teams were on there having small group. Volunteers that get up early in the morning would go out and walk the field, do their exercise, have their prayer time, all kinds of things. It would wear the kids out so much that they cooperated with every other part of our program. I'm going to show you a little teeny clip of drone video. It's not that great, but you can at least see some of it. It was amazing, and your contributions from last year did that. And I just can't thank you enough. I can't thank you enough. I want to bring up our slides and show you what did we accomplish this year. So every slide you're going to see in this presentation is what happened since you and I were together last December. I can't see the screen. Christmas. Oh my, Christmas. That'll be the first thing that I do when I go back. I leave here the day after Thanksgiving, and we'll have our Christmas program. The kids just, they're so excited to get their things. I don't know if you can see, they're holding up hygiene things. Shower gel is one for the teenagers. Woohoo! That is one of the biggest things. And at Christmas time, besides treats and snacks and a little toy, they also provide them a pair of winter shoes, a pair of winter boots. So your donations tonight will go towards that program. Next, Josh. Next came March, and we had teenagers from Oaks Christian High School from here come over. I love that team because it's the only team we have that are high schoolers. Mostly it's adults that come and work with us, but you can see we have a wood-burning central for a couple of our buildings, and here, Julian, one of the guys that works for us, is teaching these kids from Oaks how to use a log splitter. You think any of them have ever used a log splitter? No. And they came, and they worked with our special ed orphanage, and they were there at Easter time. The far picture, you can see them holding blue bags. That is food distribution that we do in an impoverished community that they helped us feed 100 families. These are kids from Oaks. I don't have the money to send my kids to Oaks, so you can imagine these kids came, and you know what? They came with servants' hearts. Some of our times we'd look at our young people and all their frickin' blue hair and tattoos, and we're like, what is happening? But if you met these kids, they are on it. They're on it. And not all of them were Christians, but they were there to serve, and they did hear the gospel message from myself and other volunteers. And they did an amazing, amazing job. We're so grateful that they were there and helped us with our Easter program. Next. Okay, here's the beginning of the soccer field that we started after the rainy season and snow was gone. And okay, keep going, Josh. It's so exciting. We had such a grade to fill. Oh, the elevation was crazy. Keep going. And here we are, playground equipment, some of the finishing of the soccer field. Okay, and here's kids on it. Kids on it, just loving it, playing. It's just the best. Yeah, so now we're going to show you just, you know, you can tell we don't spend any money on any of your money on media or that kind of thing. So bear with us for the volunteer drone footage I have. Go ahead. Look at that. They play a game where they put the inner tubes in and then they go to each side and then you go to run in and grab it and whoever has the most inner tubes on your other side is the winner. Anyway, thank you. You did that. Thank you. Thank you. The next slide I'm going to show you is our Home of Hope program. Oh no, camp, more camp, more camp. Look at our dogs. We have two of the greatest dogs, and if you don't believe in pet therapy, you come to the camp and I'll show you some pet therapy. Go ahead. Here we are, and this is the week that the folks that I had stand up, the 5. This is the week that they were at camp. So this is from their time, and you can see even on the soccer field, tug of war and all the fun things. Josh, is my next slide going to be home? Okay, let's wait. So, I mentioned to you about the girl that we took from foster care. Her name is Louisa. She came to us in June, and the first time she volunteered was at the camp with the Camarillo team. And it was the week that we had the hard kids. And at the end of and I knew it was kind of mind-blowing for her, but at the end of the week, she said, I think that was the best week I've ever had. I asked her to send me her story, to write out her testimony. And I got it by email a few weeks ago. And I kept trying to read it and practice it to read it to you tonight, but I can't get through it. I just can't get through it. So I've asked Raquel, who volunteered at camp with her, to come up and read you Louisa's testimony.
Okay, this is the testimony of Louisa. In the darkest moments of my life, I felt the presence of Jesus, a love that embraced me and gave me the strength to go on. Every day when I felt lost was an opportunity to discover how deep and unconditional this love is. Raised by strangers and changing families, growing up with the feeling that I am not wanted and accepted, I grew up with the fear of abandonment, carrying with me all kinds of traumas, and then confirming and accepting all the pain. I found my comfort in this. Making a brief introduction, my name is Luisa Adriana Metzi, and I am currently 19 years old, and I am blessed by God in all things, and I now live in Debbie's house. As a child, I was abandoned and left in a hospital cot, then taken in foster care by a family from Mediash. I grew up there not knowing anything about God, being in an unbelieving family, accumulating trauma from there, and then at the age of 9, changing the family again, arriving in CBO with another family in the foster care system. It was an indescribable pain, moving from one family to another, finding my new parents and having to settle in without causing too many problems. Growing up with a pain and a lack of love, not understanding why I have to go through this, why my parents didn't want me, for what reason, what is my fault, what is wrong with me. It was a void that I lived with for so many years, a huge void that I tried to fill with all kinds of worldly things. I ended up sleeping on the streets, cutting myself, mutilating myself, taking handful of medicine. I didn't feel accepted, wanted, or understood. Why does everyone have a mother and I don't? Theoretically, practically, we had nothing. I fought a lot at the foster family where I lived from the age of 9 until I turned 18, fighting against the traumas that I had done there every day. When the Lord, my eternal Savior, found me at the age of 14, He lifted me up and embraced me with forgiveness, understanding, and love, everything we need to fill the void. The Lord healed every particle of my body and soul, healed and renewed everything that was old and wounded. He was my missing void. He was all I needed to be fulfilled for the rest of my life. And I don't say that from then on it was easy, but from then on, my Lord did not let go of my hand even for a second. He was with me in trials. He overcame. He renewed my strength. With him, I overcame. He is my salvation. I surrendered my salvation, and the strings of blessings encompassed everything in my life, including me. All the answers I needed to heal, he gave them to me. Blessed, I am out of the foster care system after the age of 18, and the Lord found me a home at Debbie's house, where by the grace of God, I can live in a Christian environment, avoiding any type of expense. The Lord took care of all of my needs. Always grateful for Debbie and people whom the Lord used for that and showed me so much love. Later, when I got to serve in Africa in the work with orphans, I understood that my Lord does not need perfect people, wealthy people, people from perfect families. He makes the imperfect perfect through the love and forgiveness he gave us on the cross. I understood that I did not need a mother when his father's love was enough for me. My father, the father of all orphans, adopted me and remained faithful to me in truth. He did not leave me. Being the plan of the Lord, always more, better than mine, always grateful for the forgiveness and salvation I had, I remained faithful to my Savior, who never tires of loving us and saving us every day.
So let's go to the next slide. These are recent pictures of our Girls at Home of Hope this year. So we have 8 young ladies, and thankfully, unlike myself, they're learning to can things. They're going to have to teach me. Next slide. We had Deanna graduate this year. That's Sarah, and on the bottom is Louisa. You want to bring the girls on by Zoom, please? There they are. And they've already turned their clocks ahead, so it's now 5 in the morning over there for them. But they were so kind. You can see they look a little tired. Can you girls hear me? Yeah, we can't hear you. Try again. Are you on mute? Hello. You're muted. Can you unmute? Okay. Hello. Hi. We still can't hear you, but thanks for waving. We still cannot hear you. Okay, hold on. Okay, try again. Say hi.
Hello?
Oh, we hear you. Yay! Yay, we hear you. Okay. So, Rebecca, come back in the picture. Yes.
Yes. We can hear you, but we cannot see you. So it's hard to.
Can you see me?
No.
No. Okay,
It's
good.
blank.
Okay, I'm just going to talk anyway. Even if you can't see me, we can see you.
That's good.
Okay, awesome. All right, well, I'm going to move from the camera anyway since you can't see me, so I can see you. Okay, so let's start. Can I have each of the girls? We can start with Christina. You want to tell us your name and Rebecca, you're way over there. Okay, this is what we call little Rebecca because she's not the house mom. So little Rebecca, can we start with you? Tell us where you're working or what's happening with you.
Okay, I'll start first.
You're going to translate?
I am ready to translate. No, it's okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
So, Rebecca Christina. Hello?
Rebecca,
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, I'm Rebecca. I work as a kindergarten teacher. And this year I'm finishing my college degree.
Yep, she's finished. She'll graduate next year, but she's already working as a kindergarten teacher. Okay. Christina, go ahead.
Yes. Hello. My name is Christina. I finished my studies this year and now I work as a teacher in a public school, English teacher.
Diana. I can't see who's next. Diana?
Hello, my name is Diana, and I'm finishing my master degree in physical education, and I'm working a part-time job in a call center.
Hello, my name is Sarah. I finished my studies and I applied for a job.
Yeah, she's looking for a job right now.
I'm Magda. I'm a primary school teacher, and next summer I'm finishing my master degree for children with disabilities. Hello, my name is Madalena. Next summer I finish my PR college, and for the moment I work in a clothes shop. Hello, my name is Melania. I finished college this year, and I start working at a dental office as a nurse.
Yeah, as a nurse.
Hello.
Go ahead, Louisa.
Can I say?
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Meze Luisa, and I'm at my last year of high school.
So Louisa's our only girl. She's finishing her last year of high school. And did you notice all of our other girls are graduating university or getting their masters this year? So 2025, go ahead. For us, 2025 is going to be a good, big year of transition. Once they finish their college or masters, they move on. But we've had girls there 3, 4, 5 years, and now it's their turn to move on as we take more girls. So Louisa, you'll still see her on Zoom next year, but you may not see the others. Louisa, let's get back to you. And did I print my notes? Nope. Okay. Louisa, I think I am going to ask you, tell us what you have learned or enjoyed most about these first 5 months at Home of Hope.
It's really hard to hear you. Can you talk louder, please?
Okay. Can you tell us what you've enjoyed or learned or something about your time of Home of Hope these first 5 months?
So Lisa wants me to read her answers. Like, she said it's a much better environment, a much more Christian environment. The girls are close to my age. I can talk and be understood. Being at the Home of Hope helps me, pushes me from behind to be much more responsible in every field, which I was taught about responsibility at the foster home, but I didn't have the opportunity to put it into practice. It's a safe and comfortable environment, an environment where you can develop. It's a work atmosphere that I didn't always have at the foster home.
Okay, Josh, you want to pull up the next slide? So, Louisa, we're going to show them your pictures from Africa. So, Louisa's church had a trip to Africa planned, and they saw the maturity in Louisa, and they asked her to go with them. So, this was her first time out of Romania, and she went to Tanzania. And she worked in a school there. And Louisa, what would you like to say about your mission experience in Tanzania?
Tanzania always remains in my soul. It is an unforgettable experience and will surely be repeated. I didn't think that this experience would fulfill and heal me so much. I learned to love each child separately. There were 10 houses with 15 orphans in each house. Every day I woke up and said to myself, today I want them to feel better. I have a lot of love for them. I want to make sure they feel appreciated and validated, to be able to make them laugh. I was telling them about how God says and promises in the Bible that He Himself will take special care of orphans. And I have learned love, and they also taught me to appreciate everything I have. Love, material things, everything I have, absolutely everything. Because they absolutely have nothing, but they were the happiest and most fulfilled because they all already have everything, that is Jesus, who worked in each case, but each of these children.
Last question. When I interviewed you to come to Home of Hope, you told me that after high school, you plan to study at university to become a psychologist, a counselor. How did your time in Tanzania affect your goal? Do you still have the same goal to be a counselor?
Yes. Yes.
She speaks such good English.
Yeah.
Luisa, you speak really good English when you're with us. Doesn't she, Raquel? Yes. Come on now, say something in English.
Yes, I want to study psychology.
Okay. Our time is going to be short, so girls, is there any other girl that wanted to say something? Your last Zoom call? Or you want to wave goodbye, go back to bed? What do you guys want to do?
We want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Josh, are they off? Go back to the last Home of Hope slide. It was a rough year for a lot of our young women, even though we have much to celebrate. Deanna, the girl that graduated, her father was dying of cancer, and he died of cancer her final exam week. But man, she toughed it out. She graduated with honors. Amazing girl. Sarah, the girl at the sink in the upper, had her first, what I would say, serious boyfriend this summer. When his mom saw her picture, she forbid him to see her because she's gypsy. Her skin was too dark for their family. That kind of racism still exists for the Roma community, for the gypsy community. And so he broke up with her, and she's okay with it now. And she knew that might happen, but it was tough. It will be the same for Luisa. She will have to fight and break down barriers when she gets her degree, but they're up for the task, I'm telling you. They're up for the task. Josh, you want to go on to the next slide? You might notice in the picture you see some African children with green t-shirts on. The lady that's there, Kati, the Romanian lady, she brings her children to our camp from her village ministry. And this year she saw in my linen closet that I had leftover green t-shirts from 2023. And she said, hey, I'm going to Zambia in September. Can I take those t-shirts? And I'm like, of course you can. And I said, the only catch is you got to send me a picture from Zambia. So our Heart of Hope t-shirts are now in Zambia. I just wanted you to see that. This is what Kati had to say after camp. Our children, and she's talking about the Romanian village children, come from families that cannot afford a bag for camp and have few resources. We had friends the children never met, and she's talking about her Romanian friends. Prepare a travel bag or backpack with clothes, shoes, shampoo, and toothpaste. Some of the children we minister to are begging on the street for food, so each meal is such a treat for them at camp. They love their cabins, and they have a chance to take a shower. Our main volunteers now were once children coming to camp 10 or 15 years ago. Now they're grown up and know how it is done and how much it means to poor children like this. This camp is the best, in capital letters, treat all year for us and our children. Thank you so much, Debbie. With love, Kathy. Next slide. I want to show you two more partners of ours that bring their children in August when we're finished with all of our camps. This lady teaching right here, and where's Petri right here, they have an after-school program for children at risk. And if the kids come to homework club, then one of the treats is you get to go to camp. And so this is what Mirella wrote to me after camp. The time spent with the kids deepens our relationship with them. By observing them closely, we gain a better understanding of their strengths and areas for growth, allowing us to support their development more effectively. For me, camp is a special time because it encourages children to open up, fostering strong bonds through the quality time we share, whether during games that boost their confidence or one-on-one conversations where we exchange thoughts. These experiences create an emotional connection that enhances our communication with them throughout the year, making our guidance more impactful because of the trust and bond that we were able to form at camp. Thank you so much, Mirella. Pastor Florin Guguianu, he used to work for me a long time ago when he was a kid. I mean, not a kid, but 20 years old. And he's now a pastor in Copachen. His group is under the, are they under that? Under the Capella? Up here. Up here was his group. On the soccer field was his group this year. And Florin's very funny. So this is what he wrote me after camp. He goes, "Thanks for having us again at Camp of the Good Shepherd. This is such a great opportunity for ministering to our youth. We all had a wonderful time. The new playground and soccer field is the kick. All the kids had so much fun. We had so many activities on it, and from now on, there'll be no boring time. There were all kinds of games invented, and it's one of the most used places, of course, after the kitchen and bathroom, LOL. So your investment at Camp of the Good Shepherd isn't just blessing a small community. It is so many. And what I love about these last two slides is what you're seeing are Romanian Christians doing the work of the ministry. So we've come alongside, we're providing for them. They can't afford to buy a camp, they can't build a camp, they can't build a soccer field, all the things. But man, what an impact they're having in their local communities. You're part of that too. You're part of that too, and I just want to thank you. On the back of your program, it says that this year's donations are going to go to improve infrastructure at Camp of the Good Shepherd. Last year, I told you about my dream for a soccer field. My next dream is to have indoor showers and indoor toilets and sinks for our kids that stay in the cabins. Right now, they use outhouses, which our volunteers have to clean. So if you want to be coming and not have to clean an outhouse, you have to give money so I can build a bathroom. It's not that big a deal to clean the outhouse. Is it, Raquel? But we want to build a bathroom and some other things. And I don't know if I can get I have the design. I don't know if I can get it all approved and get it finished by the time camp starts, but it's a dream. And then your funds will go for the Christmas program the first week of December, which is just around the corner. And to Home of Hope. I just can't believe that I see so many familiar faces, and I'm so grateful for all of the new people that came because somebody asked you, and whether you came under duress or because you wanted to come, thank you so much. This is the only night I don't wear jeans of the whole year when I dress up because it's the only fancy place I go. But the most lovely thing is to see all of you that have come for so many years, and I'm just so blessed and so grateful. And I just want to thank you on behalf of the voiceless and really the invisible children that we serve in Romania. And I invite you to come and see them. And if you just want to come and see Transylvania and Dracula's castle, I can take you to that too. And I know the good restaurants and the good bed and breakfast, and I can do that too. But I'd really love for you to come and volunteer with us.
Thank you, Debbie. We're just about to wrap things up here. Just a few last words. Josh, can you put that picture up? So I think is that picture up? Yeah. So Nikolai is in that picture. Nikolai is now an adult, but when I met him, Debbie just saw that picture for the first time. When I met him, he was an 8-year-old at the Buitsa orphanage, and he was an angry, tough little kid. And when I first met him, I repaired his front tooth because it got broken in a fight. He went through all of our programs. He went through Christmas programs, Easter programs, dental programs, camp. He lived in our transition home for boys. And the ministry paid for him to go to college, seminary, and school. He now lives in England. He has a stable job, a beautiful family. That's a huge thing for somebody that started with his beginnings. He shared with me that when Heart of Hope volunteers started visiting, it was the first thing that showed him that God existed. And he sent me a message to share last week that said, I'm extremely happy that I was able to experience the love that these dedicated people have in their hearts. So why all this effort to assist people all the way across the ocean? If God loves us all, why doesn't he just wave his hands and fix all these problems? Let me read this from Isaiah 55, 8 through 11. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. As the rain and the snow come down from heaven, and do not return to it, without watering the earth and making it bud and flourish, so that it yields seed for the sower and bread for the eater, so is my word that goes out from my mouth. It will not return to me empty, but will accomplish what I desire and achieve the purpose for which I sent it. So to tie in actually with David's message last week at CAMCC, that word from God is the law that's written on our hearts. And isn't that what we're here for? And I don't mean just here in this room, I mean here in this life. Isn't it to listen, to try to figure out why that moral something inside of us asks us to volunteer our time and money to help some kids far away that we may never meet and can never do anything for us to benefit us in return? And aren't we here to learn to respond to that law written on our hearts as the whole purpose for our lives? And in the end, we're the ones whose hearts are being refined and ministered to as well. And that's why for so long the people in this room have continued to pour into these projects by giving sacrificially and have given hope to literally thousands of kids in Transylvania. That's why you came here tonight, and the chicken dinner, but mostly for that. And each time we care for the least of these, we come closer to the kingdom of heaven. So just please join us again as we plan for the future and continue to minister to this new generation that are still kind of finding their way. There's a $10,000 matching grant tonight, and if you'd be willing to donate above what you've already spent on the auction or boxes, please write the amount in your card and total it all up and drop it with Heather or Megan on the way out. I really appreciate you guys all being here. I mean, Romania was in the news a long time ago, and for everybody to still be here doing this many years later is a real testimony to this community and the people in this room. And it's not lost on us at all. And I say this every year, but this isn't a big ministry. This is probably 50% of our entire budget for the year is from tonight. So I would like to ask Doug Parker to come up for a closing prayer. Oh, by the way, all of you who have been to Fryathon, Doug Parker beat all the Romanian kids in pull-ups over there too. So you know how that goes. All right, Doug.
I can still do a few pull-ups. Please join me in prayer. Lord, we thank you for this ministry, for these people who have started it and put it all together with your guidance. We know that you are in control of all things and that you have guided this whole thing all this way, and you still do today, and we thank you that we can be part of it. we can still go over there. And we don't know what those kids are thinking or saying, especially those of us that don't know much of the language. But smiles go a long way, and playing the games with them and showing them how to make a lanyard and doing pull-ups. And things like that are just a lot of fun, and they can see that. And they, over and over, some of them say it's their favorite week of the year when they come to camp. We just pray that we can continue this to go as long as you want to have it go, and that you would guide us and direct us in that. And please continue to bless the program and everyone here who's been so generous. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thanks, Doug. Okay, and again, if you're at all interested in volunteering, please talk to them at the table. That's a huge need back at the Golden Box table. We do have next year scheduled for November 15th. So put it back on your calendar, and we'll share with you next year all the stuff that happens this year. So thank you so much for coming, and enjoy the rest of your evening.